All right. My name's Darius. Bryce is somewhere off the camera chilling. And we are going to be debating whether or not beauty is more beneficial than brains in business. Okay. I have the F, Bryce has the negative. So if you're ready, Bryce.
Let's do it.
This is gonna be. It's gonna be. All right. In business, beauty is more beneficial than brains. Okay. Much as we'd like to say otherwise, much as we've been told, don't judge a book by its cover, and beauty is only skin deep. The reality is, it does not work like that. Okay? And I am going to prove my point if you think of it this way. The area of financial stability, meaning having a job, getting an income, that sort of thing, there comes a part of it that includes gaining employment and keeping employment. Also, there's this thing that's called the halo effect. I'll talk about both of those things in a little bit. Okay? The reasons that I'm going to tell you right now that beauty is more beneficial than brains in business, because more attractive people, and we are talking about people, not the conceptual beauty, but more attractive people are more likely to gain employment because they tend to give better impressions. And at the same time, they also are more likely to keep employment because of those impressions. There's a thing called the halo effect, which is a cognitive bias whereby the perception of one trait is influenced by information about another trait that is often irrelevant. Again, I'll talk about that in a little bit. To put it to you this way, attractive people can somehow be seen as more trustworthy, nicer, more intelligent, better leaders, that sort of thing, than people who are not as attractive. Okay? Now, when talking about employment and how people gain and keep their employment, in a research study on beauty and categorical beauty, the researchers stated, depending on the role, beauty plays in people's prior beliefs and expectations about a category. A theory-based view suggests that being beautiful or not being beautiful can make an object or person either more or less typical of that category. Okay. For example, that means if you are, I don't know, a communications person, if you are more attractive, you are seen as being able to be more beautiful. Or if you are more attractive, you are seen as being able to communicate better than someone who's less attractive. They also go on to say that beauty can make an object seem more typical of its category when this category is associated with other positive characteristics. So basically saying that beauty kind of influences people's opinions on other things that really don't have anything to do with it, but sort of do. That is what we call the halo effect. That leads into what we like to call the halo effect, which is a psychological term. The halo effect, again, is a cognitive bias. That perception of one trait influences another trait. For instance, if you like to say that, man, Darius looks good, which I would agree, man, Darius must know what he's talking about, which again, I would agree. Now, Dr. Forgas of a university professor in Australia wrote on attractiveness and impressions. He said that although halo effects have a powerful influence on impression formation in everyday life, such as job interviews and political judgments. And in a study on the halo effect, 5 people were rated as on their attractiveness. The 2 who were strongly liked received more favorable marks or higher favorable marks than their opponents. Okay, now to close up, it's just simple. Beauty makes people like you more, which makes people want to hire you more.
All right, now I'd like to begin the cross. So you mentioned that it doesn't work as simple as judging a book by its cover. Would you like to elaborate on that?
It doesn't work as simply as that. Well, research also shows that, for instance, if you're in a good mood, you will judge that book a little bit more by its cover than not being in a good mood, right? Now, to put it in a different way, if, let's say, a basketball player, no one expects an athlete to look good, so you may not really care about their looks.
Okay.
However, if you're in a position where you kind of do have to look a certain way, for instance, a politician, a speaker, whatever, your looks will indeed affect that.
Okay, cool. How do you define attractive?
It's a great question. Beauty is one of those things, it is hard to define, but everybody knows it.
No, yeah.
Now, how would I define it? I can't say this on camera. This is trying to get me expelled from school. Okay.
We can skip that one.
But generally, it's the point is that it's not what like I would or any person would. It's that if you go into an interview, it's what that interview would think is attractive.
Okay.
So I can't define it.
Why are attractive people seen as nicer and more trustworthy?
The halo effect says that, which I just didn't have enough time to really expand, that you can take a trait just looking good, just being attractive. Somehow people think you're nicer, which means people think you can be trusted more, which means you kind of, I don't want to say get away with murder, but it's hard to say, like, oh, he looks good, man, he would do something like that sort of thing.
You also mentioned that if you're more attractive, people will think that you're better at communicating. But what if you're educated in communication techniques, like you take a Comm 230 class and then you know how to speak in front of a group? Wouldn't you think that that person is better at speaking than an attractive person that may not know these techniques?
Man, if I could call for prep time right now, I would, just because that's so blatant. So blatant. But that is true. Then again, I promise you, even those people who really learn communication techniques, they know that they got to look really good because that's a communication technique.
Very well. And then my last question would be, have you ever met an attractive person who didn't sound like they knew what they were talking about?
Well, time.
All right. Beauty versus brains, a debate that transcends time itself. While opinions may differ on the subject, in the business field, brains are where true success lies. I will open with a quote by Bill Gates. Be nice to nerds. Chances are you'll end up working for one. This is because brains lead you towards achievement. And achievement is what the business world is based on. From getting a job to owning a company, achievement is key. Now, when you apply for a job, Before anyone ever sees how attractive you may be, your resume is used to make the first impression. This means that achievements, education, and the work you have done are what get you the attention of employers, not attractiveness and beauty. This is because the application process does not account for how attractive you might be, so you might not be able to get the chance to show them how pretty your face is. So without achievements that come from being intelligent, getting a job can be hard to do. This is why the Las Vegas Review Journal reports that by 2018, 60% of jobs will require a college education. See, more and more jobs are not accepting positions without some college education, according to the Center on Education and the Workforce. 35% of job openings will require at least a bachelor's degree. 30% of job openings will require some college or an associate's degree. And many jobs that once required a bachelor's degree are now shifting to higher achievement levels such as master's and doctorate degrees. The truth is, you're in college because you know that an education is a key factor in getting the career you want out of life. That is why you work hard in your classes and attempt to achieve the good grades that that you know will help you succeed after graduation. A study done by Timothy Judge, a professor at the University of Florida, has found that if you could somehow choose between being smart or good looking, the most important to economic success is being smart. See, generally smart people tend to be well educated, and with education comes confidence in your abilities. This confidence in your abilities allows you to succeed and perform job tasks effectively. It's by effectively completing job tasks and succeeding that you can maintain a career. To stay in the career path that you want, you need to be able to succeed in that career path. Now, beauty is, in fact, an important aspect that I will note many psychological journals have noted. In fact, the halo effect is a psychological phenomenon that I have, in my studies of psychology, experienced. This is true. But it is more important to be well educated and to have good work performance to excel at a career. I will end here. Let's do the cross.
This ain't gonna be too hard. I don't have many questions because I just could not get that many questions. But here we go. Okay, so you said that people don't get interviews based upon like their appearance. They get interviews from their resumes. Mm-hmm. What about like career fairs?
Career fairs would be an instance where you get to meet the person beforehand, and that would technically have the opportunity to get you a job from your attractiveness, though you have to recognize that this isn't the number one route of getting a job. Most jobs require an application process beforehand that, at least from my experience, tends to be online for the most part.
Very well. Okay, then what about how the business people tend to say that networking is very important, especially when trying to get a job.
It is.
Because if networking is important, then one might think that, hey, if you know somebody and they can get a job, isn't that a good thing?
Mm-hmm. In the case of networking, I would have to say that this is an instance where you get to pass on your resume, generally, is what networking entails. So I might know somebody that knows someone else. Now, they're not going to show them a picture of me and be like, hey, wow, that guy is really attractive. He deserves this job. Instead, they would be like, hey, Bryce, could you possibly hand me your resume so that I may hand it to them? And then in that case, they would get to look over my achievements instead of looking over my beautiful face.
Very well. Then, question for you. Are attractive people not allowed to get a degree?
No, attractive people are definitely allowed to get a degree. And
so if attractive people are allowed to get a degree, and 60% of jobs going to require a degree, so they could still go to their interviews because they have a degree, and clearly the degree is what gets people jobs, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. The degree is what gets people jobs. So at some point you have to decide whether attractive or education comes first. And as we just said, degrees are what's getting these people the jobs. It's not the attractive level that's getting them that foot in the door. So they're going to need to have the education, show the achievement, and that achievement will get them, hopefully, the career they hope.
Okay, one last yes or no question. If attractiveness is not important, right, could an absolute genius go to an interview and expect a job looking like garbage?
Unfortunately, we're out of time.
Nope.
It's not going off. But I would say yes. Yes, a genius could. Have you ever seen The Pursuit of Happiness?
Mm-hmm. Okay, in this speech, you've heard many things. You've heard some things from Bryce talking about how intelligence and brains are more important than beauty. You've heard him say how you can't go to a job interview based on your looks. You heard him say how if you want to keep your job, you have to have the brains to do your job well and effectively. However, you also heard him say that beauty is important. You heard him say that in his speech. I would like to also say that attractive subjects gain a beauty premium in that they are trusted at higher rates and as a consequence earn more. This is what research said based on the trust game, which is a little bit of the halo effect. You heard me talk about how people who are beautiful or more attractive more likely to gain employment because they give better impressions and as such be able to keep those impressions, be able to keep their employment because their impressions that they have given tends to make them more valuable. You've heard me talk about how the halo effect allows people to excel. And again, the trust game research findings suggest that we, and I'm talking about people in general, turn a deaf ear to our mother's old advice about not to trust strangers. Because not only do they trust strangers based on a stranger's appearance, several findings arise from this research. And one of them being that in a controlled setting, there is considerable trust, and on average, that trust pays off. As in, not only do you get trusted in a workplace setting or whatnot, you even get paid more. You even get more money out of it. That ain't financial security or financial stability. I don't know what is. Heck. Now, there is one last thing I'm going to leave you all with before I close. One last quote. Okay, and this is from a professor at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, their business school. She said that the pursuit of beauty proclaims neither special animus nor special allegiance to any particular intellectual, social, or organizational regime. Rather, it reflects a deeply personal urge to be surrounded by the aesthetic sensations of beauty, not as an instrument of social change, but as reflective of human need, not as a substitute for the rigors of analysis, but as a property of them. In other words, people like beautiful things. We like attractive things, hence the word attractive. And that attractiveness can be proven to be more beneficial than brains.
Let me begin by explaining what we've already gone over. Beauty, brains, both are important, I will admit. Beauty is a factor that I'm sure all of us in our lives have experienced at some point losing out to someone more beautiful than us. I'm sure that you can all remember a time where someone that was beautiful, more attractive, just generally a great looking person had an easier time with something. Whether it was popularity, whether it was getting a job, I'm not sure though. See, I admit that beautiful people might have it easier getting people to like them, which we all probably know because the nerdy people were the ones that weren't talking to people, the ones that didn't have tons of friends. But those are also the skilled people. See, while we were sitting there talking to other people and trying to become popular, they were sitting there trying to develop skills that would allow them to achieve in life, be better than they already were. They're the ones that one day will be somebody. Whereas some of the beautiful people that you might know already are the people that aren't going to ever be somebody. I have so many beautiful friends back at home that haven't gone to school and are working dead-end jobs. They're never going to achieve anything greater than working at the grocery store or McDonald's. But then I have tons of friends that have gone off to college, become educated, are becoming engineers, becoming doctors, going to Johns Hopkins. Do you think the beautiful people are doing those things? Only if they're becoming educated and becoming smart people as well. See, I understand that beautiful people and smart people can be one and the same. But when it comes to people like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, all people who revolutionized their industry, this was not because they were attractive, no. It was because these people were intelligent and sought to achieve greatness. History is riddled with smart people making a difference and changing the foundations of business themselves. So what is more important? Beauty that potentially can get you a job, or brains that can create an entire business empires, all while changing the world we live in? I'm going to end on a quote by Ashton Kutcher. The sexiest thing in the entire world is being really smart and being thoughtful and being generous. Everything else is crap. I promise you. It's just crap that people try to sell you to make you feel like less. So don't buy it. Be smart, be thoughtful, and be generous. The truth is, brains are real beauty.